Are we live? Yes. How is everybody? I just got here 30 seconds ago. I have a Lyft story to tell you that could be made into a movie. So anyway, hope everybody's doing well. I'm honored to be with these gentlemen, this particular panel. We're going to discuss the music industry, NFTs. How will NFTs change the music industry, or will they? Or will people do it? You know, however you want to look at it. I'm going to go through and let everybody introduce themselves, because you can never get all the details that a person would want to put out. And these folks have made major marks in the music industry. I'm going to start with Scott Page. Scott?
Thank you very much, Edmond. Good to see you, man. Glad you made it, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Scott Page. Kind of my background in the music industry, I'm mostly known for being the saxophone player in Pink Floyd, but I've also been a tech executive for many years. I've had 4 companies. I've launched different companies in the technology space. Kind of one of my things that I'm so very proud of, I built the world's first interactive cartoon back in 1990, 91, when CD-ROM was coming out. I've been watching this game going on for a while. So I'm a tech executive and a musician, and that's kind of my background.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Scott. And Mims.
How you doing?
Good.
I speak a little loud, so I speak with a lot of energy, man. So
yeah, music is my savior. I love that out of your name.
Everybody in here has probably been partying till like 2, 3 in the morning, so I want to make sure everybody's awake and alive for these panels. But I go by the name of Mims. Some people may know me as Shawn Mims. I'm a professional musician, multi-platinum recording artist, hip-hop genre mostly, reggae genre as well. For those who are old enough, you probably remember a record I put out called This Is Why I'm Hot, maybe about over 15 years now, I would say. I don't know. Appreciate it. And you know, in 2012, I got involved into like investing and building software on the music side. One of my ventures, it's an app called Creator App, which allows anyone to take their cell phone and use it as a recording studio. And then we also got in the blockchain side with a token by the name of Tune Token, which is allows for artist rights management and royalty transparency on the blockchain. So that's in a nutshell. I hate talking about myself, so skip on over to the sexy saxophone player. With, you know,
the second one over. We have 2 now.
There you go.
That's so cool. I wonder what Pink Floyd records. We're gonna have to talk about that. Yeah, hi, I'm Sapphire Adizes. I'm a co-founder of a project called the HUSL, which is a music NFT marketplace with Busta Rhymes and many different people. And yeah, I grew up as a classical composer, jazz saxophonist, you know, Lincoln Center, all that stuff. And then I went into music production, flew out a few years ago to work in the Kanye camp, and the studio with the Chainsmokers and all sorts of stuff. And then I got roped in with all you guys into this NFT thing, and I'm super, super, super stoked to be here. So that's me.
Very cool. Thank you.
You guys gotta wake up, right? We gotta wake everybody up in here, huh?
That's it. And
I'm just a music lover, and I'm just proud to be on stage with you guys. But yeah, my name is Garrick Hyde-White, and I've been building in the space, Web3 development, blockchain marketing. So I help brands, artists, and celebrities, you know, enter the space. So really excited for this conversation, guys. Thank
very
you.
good. Thank you. And myself, I'm Edmond Allmond. I'm a little idiot child. I started classical music when I was very young. Went to college when I was 10 at Mount St. Mary's College. Then bounced around different things. Composer, former staff composer at Sony Pictures. Worked on Power Rangers, believe it or not, on the music and effects side. Done a lot of film, a lot of television. If you see my big head on a screen on TV, it's probably me. I've done a lot of TV in the studio and on screen. And I've been involved for decades with the protection of IP for musicians, and got involved in blockchain a number of years ago, got seriously involved in blockchain items with Brock Pierce with Ethereum. And Scott and myself know some of the same people, so we've been very heavily involved, especially in the use of NFTs, smart contracts, with the music industry. So there's some things that I'm going to put out there, and then we'll discuss those, but I want everybody else to think about these too. I think most people in the music industry, musicians especially, don't even know where their money comes from, have no idea how to get paid, or when they get paid, have no idea that they left money on the table. So I want to talk about solutions, be it in publishing, PROs, release of material, dissemination, distribution. But the first question I like to start with is something I alluded to earlier. Will the use of NFTs change the music industry, and how? Just a really quick blip, blip, blip. I'll start with you.
Okay, yeah, no question, because you can't sell music anymore. Where do you sell music? It's done, right? I believe this is the greatest time in history now for the independent artist. The ability to basically now have this total fan engagement, what NFTs represent. They're really about, experiences. That's one of the things you can do. They're programmable. So there's a whole new creative force. And I think it's finally, for the first time, the artists can actually have control of their art and also be able to make money off of it for the first time. Because it's very difficult to build a business these days in the music business, and so this really opens up a whole new market for everyone, I think, as far as music.
Okay,
business.
and then with Sapphire, I mean, taking a look at some of your work online, you're in that space, you're creating. Tell me what your feelings are, how that could possibly change.
Well, yeah, I think it's definitely not an if, but a when, and it's already started. And I think NFTs are one of the biggest revolutions of the music industry, next to going from vinyl to CD. I mean, literally, I think it's even bigger than that. I think we're in a time that would be similar to like 2014 or 15 with Spotify and streaming, but I think an appropriate metaphor would be, I believe what Bitcoin does to traditional, finance and centralized banking is what NFT does to the entire music industry and entertainment. And we're going to be seeing a gigantic shift, and everyone in this room is really at the precipice of something gigantic in the music industry and entertainment in general. So yeah, that's my.
And Shawn, you're looking at it not only from tech business, but serious, on business structure, and also an entertainer. Tell me what your thoughts are.
So I think we all here can agree NFTs will change the music space, obviously. I think what you really should be looking at is how many verticals it's creating, right? So you think about what an NFT can do for an artist, and most people think, okay, we're just talking music, but I like to say most artists out there for the past 15 years have signed these things called 360 deals, which allows the label to pretty much take a percentage of everything they're doing, which could be from merchandising to touring, a plethora of things. I think what NFTs allows is one, an artist to build a community, so we know that from the jump, and then two, really to set up these verticals so that they have these creative ways of launching different verticals, whether they're doing a merchandise deal, or whether they're allowing NFT holders to come to their concerts and hang out with them backstage if they were early supporters. So the answer is obviously yes, and what's cool now is that there's another creative side that's being created, because now you have to be creative with your NFTs, which is where we are now while we're all here.
Yeah, just one thing real quick.
Yeah.
This is really the ultimate direct-to-consumer business model. I mean, this is we've heard about direct-to-consumer. This is wallet to wallet, and the opportunity for the artists to have a direct connect with their fans. I believe that this is, it's not about the large audiences more. It's about building that hive, right? If you want to survive, you got to build a hive, and this is the opportunity to actually build something with the fans. And what's interesting is that it doesn't really take a lot of people to actually make money in this business as far as a fan base. I have a friend that makes a great living off about 125 fans. Lives off of that fan base. So this is the opportunity for that direct-to-consumer, and I think that's going to change everything big time.
Yeah, you wind up with fans that are more dedicated to what you're doing and more willing to stay with you.
Yep.
Derek, tell me, so you say, I'm a music lover. So you've got a unique perspective looking at what we're talking about here as somebody who maybe understands the audience better? I don't know. Let me know. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. The last stage everyone just heard was about law and IP and ownership, and as a collector, I love celebrating artists, and I love how NFTs and blockchain allow you as a collector to invest, but also retain ownership and IP. And my favorite part about the revolution in the music industry right now is going to be the royalties in the secondary market that I'm really excited that the artists, like on stage, are going to be able to maintain and distribute those royalties through a smart contract that everyone can see and audit. And I think just that's the most fair system, and just really excited to hear your guys' opinion about that.
Okay, so, and the other thing I didn't tell you about myself, I'm a VP with a company called UREEQA. And what we're focused on is IP protection for artists and musicians. And we've just launched what we call Music Publishing Administration side, and we're actively moving toward how do you implement an NFT as part of a smart contract for administering publishing and looking at distribution of royalties. Now, there are a lot of things that we could get into. We only have half an hour, but one of the things I want to ask, royalties means a number of different things, and I know a lot of people out here think royalties means maybe radio play, a little bit of stage money, but there's so many things. I mean, you get into TV. How many ways can you get paid in TV? How many ways can you get paid in film for doing music? Why is it you get royalties in Europe, but you don't get royalties on films here? How do you do your contract? Blah, 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 blah. What do you think of the idea of using NFTs to distribute royalties, large company, to artists?
I mean, I think it sounds disruptive. I think for new music moving forward, that may be possible, and I think that's why we're here, right? To really start implementing structure to the creators from now into the future. The only issue with that may be music from the past that already has been dispersed, and you kind of got to clean up the mess that the music industry's already created. But wishful thinking, I think that would be great if we could find a solution for doing that using NFTs for sure.
Right. And so how about, probably a number of you out there that have started companies, what about somebody here starting a company and setting up a new paradigm and having a new way to distribute? What do you, technically, how would that happen? Technically, if we start, I know we don't want to get into a lot of dev stuff here on stage, but let's point a little bit toward technically, how would that happen? How would we pay people? How would we use NFTs to pay artists? What would the process be?
Well, pay the artist or the people that are working on the whole thing, right? Are you talking about the entire team?
Yep.
I mean, that's the beautiful part. We've been.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, I've been doing a handful of NFTs. We had a couple great ones. We did one that went for 1.1 million, another one for 610,000, and we've got a whole set of drops. But what's so great is all these things that I'm working on, it's just my wallet, right? And all of it, like a DAO, everybody connects up to the wallet, and everybody just gets paid as it happens, which is fantastic. It's the first time, like, the minute the thing's sold, you get the money in your wallet, right? And you don't have to now go to the record company and do any more, hey, where's my money? I need to do find where do I get my money? I didn't get it in time. This just happens in reality right at that moment. The other thing that's really great that I think is a really cool point is this is the first time now where the fan can actually make money with the artist. That's a big deal because you can incentivize the fan in order to be able to make money with you. So it changes the whole paradigm from a fan engagement to kind of fan team that can actually, they're incentivized to help you at the same time.
Okay, so let me reel my brain back in here, come back to what you're talking about, what you mentioned. That's why we're here. So let's deal with NFTs directly with artists and fans. Tell me about your thoughts on using NFTs dynamically for a long period of time. What would you do with that? How would you, would it be an album? Would it be merch? Would it be album plus future concerts? Or what would you do? How would you approach that?
I mean, if I can just speak to I'm going to combine both this question and the first question. I think, what a lot of people don't realize, because everyone here is obviously in crypto and in NFTs, but maybe people aren't privy to what is happening in the actual music industry. And why it's such a disruption. Over 88% of international music revenue goes to non-artists. I don't know if people really get that. 88%. And the reason 88% is going to non-artists is because there's a centralized intermediary between the fan and the artist that's distributing, collecting, and doing all this money. That can now be replaced with smart contracts. what a revolution that is. So the new technology is replacing the intermediary, allowing the fan to go directly to artists. So to speak to your specific question, I mean, all an NFT is just a new technology in order for artists to be able to communicate with fans and fans communicate with artists. And I don't just mean communicate like speaking, but financially, as you're suggesting. And the new revolution is that 88% is now being replaced instead of a record label, but with the fan. So mentioning the 360 deal that you talked about, I mean, what a record label is these days is really like a loan. I'm going to give you a loan. And it's really hard because it's hard to talk about how does NFTs disrupt the music industry if we don't know how the music industry itself is working today, right? It reminds me, Elon Musk is talking about in London in the early 1900s, there was a law that you had to have a red flag in front of the car in order to not scare the horses, which is the new onboarding from the old music industry to this new music industry. We're the car, right? And there's a lot that goes on with that, but in this traditional music industry, that 88% is in centralized control, and now we're basically replacing that loan model, that recoverable loan model, with the fans being able to fund the artists, and the artists and the fans being able to share in the growth of both of their careers. So to your question specifically, basically, just it would be, it's everything, really. And NFTs are just the technology, you know, like but in terms of the actual content and what can be done, everywhere from ticketing to competitions to music to the one place where it gets kind of weird and challenging is in the future royalties. And we'd have to have our old panel come back here to do a double panel to ask them about which music NFTs are securities. Yeah. And that's something I haven't really seen. I know why no one's jumped on that because it's a huge legal issue.
I think the encouraging thing, but one of the things that I'm doing with UREEQA and the people on the teams, we've got Harvey Mason as one of our advisors. He's head of the Grammy Association. So we're Harvey Mason Jr., I should say. So we're constantly going through this, ideating how is this going to change in the future? Because bottom line, I mean, we've got large companies that aren't going to change. There's a reason that the large streaming companies don't tell you about how much money they're taking in. They talk about how much they're paying out, we're going to change a little bit, but they don't tell you what they're taking in. There's a reason that people will pay so much in a loan against a catalog, because they know they're going to make much more than that in the future. It's huge. What you said about that, more than 80% of the money is being paid out. I mean, any artist, let's talk about licensing agreements. If you walk into a licensing agreement, you immediately give up 50% of what you have in your hand. That's just, you don't get past the door unless you're willing to do that. So I think it's really important for people to begin to create their own companies, develop their own paradigms based on, like, do an ERC 1155, set it up right, you know, be able to create your company and set up a future where you've got detailed accounting that can be blockchained, and you can talk to these people one-on-one, not only because you're, say, a good musician, good writer, but because you're a good business person. You're a cutting edge, bleeding edge, if you will, thinker, and they're willing to work with you because they know that eventually they're going to need to change. One of the things I want to ask you guys about, and I'm just going to throw this out there, but I think educating musicians is going to be the most important thing, because we're on the edge of maybe creating something that the large businesses can grab and use and continue the paradigm. So technology will change, but maybe the business won't change. But the education is most important. Give me your thoughts.
I think, honestly, this topic is actually what I'm most passionate about for two reasons. So first reason is obviously typical artists, especially someone in my field, they'll be approached and poached by many companies knowing the value of something, and then they offer an artist no equity, but they'll offer them a payment. And the artist will see the payment and say, okay, great, I'll take this payment because it's a lot of money, not realizing that Setso Corporation is making 10x off the back of what they're doing. So I actually spend a lot of my time educating people in my field. The other issue is the companies, and some of them may even be in here, who don't understand how to have these conversations with artists, right? So a lot of people come into space and you have a lot of blockchain companies that are raising, some are raising billions of dollars, and their only means of coming in is saying, let's just pay for it, not realize that some of the artists that they're actually paying aren't bringing on the people on their platforms that makes sense, right? So, you know, I mean, there's some artists out there that are amazing, but if they're not bringing a demographic that's gonna, play to earn video game or game, what does it matter? You know, and I think that's another side of it that people need to be educated on, is not only being the artist in the space and figuring out how to adopt to the space, but also the companies and who they're actually finding. To me, it's better to find artists that have an audience that makes sense for a platform, as opposed to someone who may have gone triple, quadruple platinum, but none of their audience are even familiar with what the space is right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me throw something else at you. Derek, I want you to comment on this one. So if you take the example of some visual artists on Clubhouse, what about musicians creating community, right, but creating company? So I think one of the, how many people here are active musicians, be it a composer, a performer? Okay. How many people are in the union, AFM? Most people laugh at it. How many people know what the Film Musicians Secondary Market Fund is? How many know what AMA is? RIA, A. Figure out this alphabet soup. If you're a musician and you've done anything on stage, you've done anything for a video, you've done anything for film or television, I want you to figure out this alphabet soup. I want you to go online, and you'll probably find your name there and figure out that somebody owes me $200, $1,000, $2,010. We've got an artist with us at UREEQA that just found out he's owed $25,000. Nobody's keeping it from him. He just didn't know. So what about musicians building community, building up their fan base, creating companies, maybe turn it into a smart contract, and then start distributing on their own?
Yeah, that's an amazing idea. It kind of reminds me of the DAO model and mechanism right now, where you can incentivize your community to get not only emotionally invested but physically invested into your brand, and help with the voting structure. An idea you guys gave me. If I was lucky enough to have been at Scott Page's first live performance ever, I bought a ticket and I can show that proof of attendance. And if I invited 25 of my friends to his next performance and I help sell 25 tickets, I can see a world in the future where we can incentivize the fandom to grow with the success of the artist and be rewarded for the rising tides raising all ships, really.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I just wanted to say, I think the ticketing space is going to be massive, because what happens is as soon as you get that ticket, you get the experience starts, right? It can start. And what's so beautiful about these things, they're programmable. It's in everybody. You can't sell music today. What you can sell is the relationship and the experience. And if you come up with experience, so artists now have to, I think differently, musicians, about how they can mash things together, create new experiences for the fans, and engage those fans. But again, I believe it's all about the hive. It's about that community and building that community. And I could see what you're saying about bringing artists coming together to build their own things and be able to go out to those fan base. But yeah, this is all about fan engagement.
Totally.
I mean, that's the game, but I think where the money is anyway.
I was going to say too, if you really consider what the NFT space is, it's a way to, I mean, obviously, other than it being on the blockchain, a system of checks and balances, it's a way to reward everybody who's a part of the process. I have a business partner. I know he's sitting in the audience. He has a token he's launching called Spin World, which actually rewards, and we don't talk about this either. We talk about, but it rewards the DJs that play the music, who support the artists, who make them big, who get them hot. And so forth and so on. So I think really, I know I'm an artist, and trust me, I've gotten approached by many companies to launch an NFT. And as great as it may sound, as a cash grab to get a bunch of money at one time, the reality is that if you're not looking at it as a way of building a community, so that you can run for a long time and have people who support you, then you're looking at it the wrong way. Yeah, sure, it's fine to make a bunch of money up front. Oh, thank you.
Go on. Give it up.
No cash grabs.
Just a round of applause for that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Thanks for starting the clap, CL. I appreciate it. It's fine to make a bunch of money up front, but the reality is what we're trying to do, and the whole key of blockchain is to decentralize the process. I generated $17 million in 2007. That went to a record label that decided that they wanted to pay me probably 50,000, 30,000 of those dollars.
Exactly.
I had to go through a 7-year litigation just to open books up, which I paid an attorney, my partners and I paid an additional $500,000 to do, only to retain the money that we paid in expenses to find out. And if you have that transparency, whether it be NFT, blockchain, or whatever, artists like myself don't have to go through that. And that's why we're here.
Yeah,
And that's, I was gonna
Yeah.
talk about, your last question, which is, how do we educate and communicate to artists about NFTs? That's like what I do every single day. I'm the chief talent officer, right? So I speak to artists every day, and I think it's the greatest job in the world because, every artist that's been in the space has a story like that. I have a story like that. I had a double gold record, 250 million streams, and the label and the artists are like, okay, we're just going to reduce your royalty, and there's nothing you can do. With a smart contract, that's not going to happen. Right. The other big thing that I tell artists is, how long does it, when was the last time you got paid after you turned in your work within 6 months, right? People don't know this. Like, I made a song in 2017. I turned into the label in just at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. They waited to release it until 2019, and I still haven't gotten paid for it, right? 2 years after that. And then I tell these artists, I say, you release the NFT, money goes in, money comes into your wallet, like that. And that is a revolution in itself, being paid immediately. So, and then to your last question as well, it's awesome that you brought that. I feel like that's really what we're doing at the HUSL.
Yeah.
The HUSL is a group. It's mostly in hip hop and R&B and around that community. And all of our artists, we have a token as well, a native token, that all the artists are given tokens. And as the platform is growing, everyone is benefiting from the token equity, and that gives all sorts of the artists to work together. And because we have a staking mechanism that has a reward platform, and if you stake the token, and all of these people are benefiting together, and it's a community of collaboration surrounded around crypto with everyone that's holding the token.
Can you imagine? I know this is a little bit simplistic, but imagine a world where instead of shareholders buying into a Sony, they're buying a token, and then those old shareholders from Sony are jumping over to buy that token.
Exactly.
And jumping the value, and then the artists that hold the token are gaining that value themselves. That'd be awesome. I know I'm probably not supposed to do this, but anybody have a quick question? I'm going to just go ahead, go for it. So when you're an investor as a fan, how does it, go ahead, say again, as a fan within the community, as an investor holding one of their songs, how are you able to, So as your investor holding one of their songs, how are you able to generate a token? How are you able to generate a token, more tokens, greater value for the token?
Just income in general, you mean?
I think she's asking what do the investors gain from it in the long term, in a sense?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy, right? So just like anything, you put money into it, and you want to seed it to grow, so you become a promoter of that project or marketer of that project, and you kind of help spread the word. If the artist takes off socially, or let's say they create a social token, and their token decides to grow. If you're an early holder of the scenario, then you're going to have a lot of people. So think about it. If Drake, before Drake became Drake, decided that he wanted to launch an NFT early in his career, right now that NFT, the value of it would be ridiculous if he limited it to 10,000 people, because everyone would want to be a part of that club if they're a fan of Drake.
Yeah.
Do you know about the Tory Lanez NFT drop? Okay, so you know about how much it was going on the secondary market? Okay, all right. So then, for those that don't know, Tory Lanez did a drop of an EP, a 4-track EP, $1 per copy. and had, sold $1 million in 57 seconds. And then the people who bought those $1 NFTs went onto the secondary market and were listing it for 30, 40. They were sold for $40,000. So, clearly, from a speculative perspective, there's an investor or a collector, right? It stands to, can speculate on a musician's rising to fame or the art rising to fame. I think what you were talking about is really the most interesting application, which is that, holding an NFT, giving you rights to future royalties.
Right.
I just don't know how we're going to figure that out from a securities perspective.
It's hard. I mean, we're dealing with some securities issues that concern investing in an individual and restricting that. Other countries are going to look at it differently, but we've got companies, projects, so there's ways around that. We know that. There are financial people smarter than me about that who can answer those questions in more detail. But I know that we have solutions.
So yeah. So in the resale, right, 10% of all of the secondary market sales were going back to the original artists, and obviously I'm sure the artists had a split with whatever platform they worked with, but so just so everybody understands, so someone bought the NFT for $1, sold it for $40,000, and $4,000 of those $30,000 went back to Tory Lanez, right? And will continue to go back to Tory Lanez forever. I like to tell artists, whenever I'm telling artists, it's like, imagine if Michael Jordan sold a baseball card in the 80s, and every single time that was resold, he was getting 10% into a wallet that nobody was going to take away from him, like we both experienced in a label situation.
Derek, you want to say one last thing here?
No, I'm so honored to be on stage. I wish we could keep this conversation going forever, but we do have to wrap it up.
I know, we do. So I'll leave you guys with this. $1 from 1 million people is $1 million. There's no need for greed. Teaching the person next to you to do what you know how to do will grow your community and grow your business. And we can literally change the world of art by keeping our head on and moving forward propitiously together, okay? Don't forget that. Thank you very much for your time.